Welcome to our Modern Technology webinar series. Great to have everybody here. Today we're going to see an exciting commerce solution for wineries, Winehub. It's had great success overseas, especially in Australia, with a lot of wineries we all know and esteem. It's now landed in America with a very compelling product. I'm joined here by Ben Gibson, the founder and CEO of Winehub. Thanks for coming, Ben. Great to have you.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me, Caleb.
Just a little bit of logistics before we get started. We're recording the webinar, so you don't have to. I'm going to do the next slide, Ben.
Yep.
And we'll try to answer all the questions we can during the webinar. If any reason we're not able to answer a question, we'll get back to you by email. So don't worry about that. Now just a little bit about wine shipping. Wine shipping serves 5 strategic regions in the United States. We're the largest direct-to-consumer provider. We do a lot more than that, which not everybody knows. Ask us about our wholesale, DTT, JIT, and other logistics services that we can do for your winery. There's a lot more available to you now than there was in the past, and we think a lot of it is very exciting. Wine shipping has 3 stands: unity, simplicity, and fun. These represent our promises towards the future. Today, we're focused on simplicity. Winehub is going to show you how they can make running your business a lot less onerous. These types of solutions can really take a lot of pressure off you and your teams in your commerce activities and really free you up to do what you love. We've got a really simple agenda. Look at that. We're going to focus on why wine shipping thinks you should be using these modern technology solutions. Ben's then going to take us through a quick overview and then a demonstration of everything they've built at Winehub. I think it's really compelling. Haven't seen it before. I'll finish off with just a little bit about how we're already directly integrated with wine shipping and how you can quickly and easily get started using these tools. And then we'll take any questions you guys have at the end.
Excellent. Okay.
Just got one more here. So this is what, 4 years ago, wine shipping made a promise to be a technology company. Since then, we've made a lot of strides in offering all of our wineries more powerful solutions. What we've observed since then is when we start to measure different cohorts that work with us, you can see 4 of the ways we measured it on the bottom left there of the slide, that in fact, even during some of the recent headwinds in the market, that people who follow these practices actually grew overall, and our clients who are not embracing these solutions have shrunk. And some that have embraced tools like Winehub, these really contemporary platforms, have actually grown as high as 30%. And these are not just small brands. There are a lot of really major wineries that are finding a way to grow despite some of the headwinds. So that's why we're here today. I've worked with Shopify since I started here 2 years ago. When wineries would adopt Shopify, it meant a lot of trying to figuring out how to use it. They would have to go out and find different apps and try to string things together, hire a consultant. That's no longer true today. Ben's going to take you through how you can really easily get started on Shopify with Winehub. I think it's very exciting.
Well, thank you, Caleb, for setting me up for that. I really do appreciate it. It's nothing gets me more excited than a 5:30 a.m. webinar, let me tell you. So I've got my coffee, my water, and I'm absolutely ready to go and show your audience what we're building. So, I mean, to your point, Caleb, the single reason for Winehub existing in the first place is that a very good friend of mine wanted to launch Portugal's first ever wine club, and this is sort of back in the pandemic, and they had a Shopify store, and we were neighbors on my street in the UK, and he said, "Oh, do you think you could help me with this?" I said, "Absolutely." And I thought it would be fairly straightforward because I knew that the app ecosystem within Shopify was, very broad and had lots of options. But I was actually quite shocked to figure out that there wasn't really anything to handle the transactional nuances that occur in wine. So, your wine clubs, your vintage changes, very specific loyalty programs, allocation systems. And so we actually interviewed some of our now today would be competitors to see if we could outsource some of that solution, because at this point in time, I certainly wasn't thinking about building a new business unit for our company. And I just felt that the vision that I wanted to create for the wine industry on Shopify didn't exist, even if we were doing third-party integrations. And really the primary reason that we built on Shopify's ecosystem is that it's got the best checkout in the world, and conversion is one of the biggest deciders of business success. So I put this up by Shopify, your money taken faster, a platform that turns browsers into buyers faster than any other checkout in e-commerce. And I think that's a really important point to make. So this is just a very nice slide that we like to show at the start. This is how Shopify converts against sort of the major e-commerce providers globally, and that number is even broader when you dial it down into sort of niche built for specific wine platforms. So some of my slides didn't format when I brought them over to your lovely blue template, but I presented this slide at the D2C symposium in Monterey a couple of months ago, which is an event that we sponsored. It was really nice to see everybody wearing our lanyards at that event. And one of the things that one of the points that I made at the time is that I actually think wine has the best marketers in the world. They've been frustrated by fairly old, outdated tools for quite some time. They've been dealing with perhaps software that hasn't been updated regularly, or things that don't integrate with modern commerce tools. So as modern e-commerce comes out, other sectors get access to some really interesting technology, Klaviyo, CDP tools, and often wine built for niche wine services don't integrate as fast as a service like Shopify. So I was actually on the way to your dinner at the wonderful aquarium that I kind of figured out a way to graph this in my head. And basically it's sort of, the ideal inflection point, and this is where ideas minus enablement equals your output capacity. So you can see here, hopefully you can see my cursor. This is where most marketers want to be. This is where most sales and marketing people really want to be. They want to be able to execute ideas at the top of, the top of their stratosphere. But unfortunately, they're roadblocked by software. Where, if you get to work in the morning and your user interface doesn't allow you to execute that idea, then you've got an enablement problem. And what we're trying to achieve at Winehub, and what we believe we have achieved, and the numbers certainly tell us that, is just moving that needle further up here, moving that intersection so that your software structures give you a whole bunch of extra capacity. And I think that's hopefully what I'm going to show to your audience today. So I know everybody's here to sort of have a look at a bit of a nosy around the product, but I just want to sort of set the scene by really going through this. It's a little exercise, and I call it the browsing versus the buying experience, okay? And I want you to just, for your audience, I want you to just mentally think about a business that you would rank as #1 in each category, your #1 browsing experience and your #1 buying experience. I just want you to take a mental note of that. So I'll give you a couple of seconds. For the buying experience, I just want you to think about the ease of transaction and how frictionless the checkout and the ease of returns is, right? So I've got a few prompts on the next slide to just give you my input on this. And then for the top browsing experience, just consider maybe something more emotive, like a store that you really enjoy going to, or a restaurant that's quite special to you, and perhaps your significant other. So for me, top buying experience is without a doubt my local coffee shop around the corner, and that will change, I'm sure, because they implemented this system. They digitized their loyalty cards. I think it was in December last year. It meant that I no longer have to take these punch cards with me, and I've got probably 50 or 60 of these just sitting on the desk in front of me. So now when I check out, I just enter my phone number, and it registers the coffee against my phone number. And so the next time, if I've got a free one or something like that, then I don't have to remember to bring my card. So that would be my local coffee shop for buying. And the second one was an art gallery in Adelaide. So my wife and I moved from London to Adelaide in Australia to be closer to a major wine region. Obviously, Adelaide, one of the great wine capitals of the world. They have art from $50 up to sort of 20 grand, and they make you feel really welcome no matter what level you're buying at. So does everybody get there too? I mean, I can't see you, but I'm hoping that you've got your two businesses. And I want you to consider how many of you would have had the same business for both categories, right? So how many said, okay, my browsing and my buying experience is the same business? I can tell you now, when you're in a room full of hundreds of wineries, it's often very few, maybe one or two people put their hand up for this. And then hands up if you selected a wine business for your top experience. Unfortunately, I can't see anybody, so I'll have to just sort of trust that there's a few hands there. Yeah. So why is this important? Well, in the context of direct-to-consumer wine sales, the browsing experience is something that you as businesses and marketers can control, right? You can adjust your website look and feel. You can play around with the tasting room experience, and you can guide tourists to you. You can modernize and improve the wine labels in accordance with your market research, and you can adjust market focus. And finally, more importantly, you can control your brand messaging. So you have a lot of control over the browsing experience. But unless you own your customer journey, and I forgot to format this one, either the browsing, buying, or both experiences are going to be 100% controlled by a third party. So unless you're handing your browsers off to really good, slick software to check them out, and also great software that's got excellent retargeting capacity, you run the risk of outsourcing that experience. So we're going to have a look at the Wine Club initially. We're going to pick this a little bit apart because it sort of sets the scene as to where Winehub is going as a plugin. And I agree with Caleb. If you'd have looked at Shopify a couple of years ago, I agreed with you. I agreed with the market's summation that it was a challenging platform to navigate a winery with. And that's exactly why we built Winehub. And so we're moving new wineries every single week all around the world to our platform. We've got some amazing customers in the United States and New Zealand and South Africa and all over Europe, lots of different places. And it's really interesting to see the different approaches to D2C. So let's take a look at the main D2C components of what you need. Well, first of all, you need an online store that performs well, right? So many of you in the room, I'm assuming some of you are using WineDirect, so you'll be looking at migration as part of that thought process anyway. So we speak to a lot of wineries in the US, and many of them were not necessarily considering a software technology change, but obviously with the acquisition there, it's now become top of mind. So you want to look at something that obviously that performs well, that gives you data capture at the point of purchase, that has D2C transactional drivers that convert swiftly. So what I mean is upsell at the checkout. And then one thing that's really resonating with younger audiences is that familiarity of checkout, right? So this is why I like Shopify. It's when you get to a Shopify checkout, there's an instant feeling of trust because so much of the world's e-commerce runs on that platform. It's a very familiar checkout experience. So, and who is still in wine clubbing? Is the wine club still the pinnacle of D2C sales goals? So let's take a look into the journey of the biggest wine clubber of all time, and that would be the baby boomer. Right? And my parents are absolute raging baby boomer wine club members, by the way, I can tell you that. So let's have a look at where are they now, because this is something that the industry is trying to solve, and there's a couple of different ways that you can tackle this. You can solve this with marketing to a degree, but for the most part, at least, what we're doing at Winehub is looking at how we solve sales to this demographic and sales to younger demographics using mechanical using structures, using mechanics, using software, I suppose. So the 1970s, it was party time for these people, right? They were having an amazing time. You can see you've got someone that resembles Jesus Christ there sitting in the back. I don't know how many wines this guy's had at this point. The 1980s is where the family begins, and things start to get a little bit serious for this generation. And then the 90s hit, and it's just boomer time, right? It's this is the beginning of the creation of the wealthiest generation the world has ever seen. And then that wealth continues to grow into the 2000s, and really in the sort of the mid 2000s, going up to the 2010s. That's when you start to see a massive spending spike on wine clubs. So lots and lots of wine clubs, volume accrues, and storage starts to fill up. Actually, that's a big consideration these days, is storage. But now we're into the 2020s, and consumption's lowering. So let's look at one customer profile with plenty of spend left, and then we're going to look at how we can tackle marketing this cohort and also to the younger cohort as well, using the same advertising dollar. So there's plenty of spend left with this cohort, but it's now how you sell wine to them that matters. So this guy is male, 72. He's a father, grandfather, and a husband. This particular gentleman is self-made. You can see he's obviously just bought a brand new home there. He's got a couple of wines to celebrate. He likes the finer things in life, as you can see. He was a member of 9 wine clubs in 2018, a member of 2 wine clubs in 2024, and a member of 1 wine club in 25. Recently spent $1,500 after a wine tasting room lunch and didn't join the wine club, okay? Says he's got too much wine at home and would rather buy when he needs it as opposed to when the winery wants to sell it. And you need to be honest with yourself, those in the audience. Does this person sound familiar to you? So if you haven't guessed by now, this is my dad. So the indomitable wine clubber for life, or so I thought anyway, Terence Gibson. And I want you to consider just very briefly, how many Terry Gibsons do you have in your databases right now? And if you can't answer that question, or you don't have a customer database, there's some wineries that are still doing pen and paper, then you're really further away from understanding your consumer than you ought to be. So 2 D2C takeaways. And we'll just sort of fly through a few more slides, and then I'm sure everybody wants to take a peek under the hood of Winehub, which we'll certainly do. So the first one is this myth. It's just about wine clubs. Well, it isn't. It encapsulates all purchasing touch points, and it represents the lowest cost opportunity for you as wine producers to move the needle on sales today. So we're going to show you a few mechanisms that live within Winehub that you can dial into to increase revenue today. Very easy things to do, after this webinar if you actually are a Winehub customer. So loyalty programs, allocation models, referral systems, marketing automation, cohort offers from all form part of the next decade of essential D2C mechanics. So we are big advocates of blending loyalty systems and wine clubs as a dual strategy at Winehub. So I'm going to come back to this and jump into our demo now. Just have to make a mental note. How much time do we have, Caleb?
About 25 minutes.
25 minutes, well, we better fly through. Okay, so the first thing to note about Winehub is that it's a fully integrated system with Shopify, right? So it's publicly available on the Shopify App Store. If you like anything here that you see today and you're already using Shopify, this is very easy for you to go and start using. You'll see here on the left-hand side panel, you've got Shopify's menu system. So Winehub will live as one of your extension apps. So, along with Klaviyo and any other products that you want to add to extend your store, they'll live here. So really what we've done is we've built on the back of Shopify's ecosystem to add those, I call them transactional nuances, because that's effectively what they are. All these transactions that wineries need to have, clubs, sometimes sometimes the schematics that we get for the wine clubs are just so challenging to build. They're very custom. So wine software has to be very different from something that would be used for general subscriptions. Obviously, there's lots of general subscription type products on the Shopify App Store, but none of them, at least to my knowledge anyway, none of them are really drilling down into the specificity of wine. And that was something essential that we wanted to do. So when you first log into Winehub, the first thing you're going to notice is, like any good piece of business platform, you'll have a dashboard, and this just gives you a bit of a monthly summary of what's happening with your business month to date. So new club signups, skip shipments, cancellations, and if you're in the US, you'll have another bracket here called quarantined orders. So this we're now fully integrated with all the major compliance systems, so you can run all of your compliance checks natively within Winehub. In fact, we even disseminate the error codes coming from Ship Compliant and Avalara and put them into human readable actions. And if it's something that customers can do, so we've got a really, really sophisticated customer portal. And if it's an action that one of your customers can take, like simply dropping a couple of bottles out of their shipment, Winehub has auto prompts built in to remove the cheapest bottles that you have in stock in that order. So that's we're just trying to remove friction. So scrolling further down, there's a bit of an analytics section here. So this just looks at all order data over the last let's have a look at the last 90 days of information. This is your top 10 products, top 10 types. It's reds, whites, rosés, sparklings, and for your variety, sorry, and the types would be, sorry, I messed that up. Your types will be your reds, whites, rosés, and sparklings, and your varieties obviously will be whatever grapes are going into your products. For those of you in the audience that might be connected to retailers or be multi-regional growers, we also have regional analytics as well. So this tells you not only what products are selling, but also where they're coming from. Further down here, you've got monthly predictions. This is just expanding out to have a look at the next 3 months worth of data for your clubs. Now, because we get records of every single sale, online, club, right, and ad hoc buying, you can look at this. You can look at these analytics for all orders or just for your wine club channel. Okay, so that's very important to know. So, what makes Winehub specific for wine? Well, first of all, Shopify's I think as of today, $130 billion market cap product. So they don't tend to care what anybody sells, as long as it's legal. That's fine, right? They don't mind what you sell on their platform as long as it's legal. They are solely focused on commerce. And what they do is they allow the app ecosystem to fill in the blanks for niche industries here: wine, coffee, cosmetics. There's lots of different specifics that are in those industries. So Winehub has built its own product entry form that completely syncs with Shopify. And you can see here, it's got a whole bunch of wine-specific meta fields. Yeah. So when you create new products in Winehub, and hopefully my internet, there we go, plays ball, you can create general merchandise. So this is just where, it could be glassware or hoodies like I'm wearing today. There's not that much information that you need to input. But if we say, let's classify this product as a wine product, now we have meta fields available to us. So this could be a 2020 vintage. It could be a screw cap closure type. It is a red wine that is maybe 70% primary varietal Cabernet Sauvignon, because I know where you guys live, and then 30% secondary varietal Merlot. The more you fill out on the metafield sides of things, there's 3 things that happen there. First of all, your analytics is going to be amazing because you'll have all of that rich metadata available to you natively, and you can share those segmentations into Klaviyo and other CDP products. The second part is, if you're on one of the pro plans, you'll get access to our allocation system here. So if you want to do a back vintage, I don't know, 2016, I feel like it was a good year around your neck of the woods, Caleb, and you want to do, you've got a 99 pointer, you've got 1,000 bottles left of it sitting in your warehouse, and you want to offer that 99 pointer to wine club members that have spent $500 or more over the last 18 months outside of their club delivery cadence, right? That have at least bought one of these items as part of their club delivery or in an ad hoc fashion, that have a varietal preference towards Cabernet Sauvignon, where at least 15% of their orders contain those varietals. If you have a loyalty program, you can even segment that out to say, give this offer to anyone within X dollars of upgrading to the next membership tier. You can only get that information if you fill out your meta field. So it's really, really important to do that. And the second benefit is when you're on your storefront. So this is just our demo store. So hopefully it's in good condition because lots of my staff use this. This is what your product page can look like, right? So this is just a subscribe and save element, and then down here you can see we've got the Winehub Metafield app block. So this just allows you to add all of your technical information in one click. Nice. Right. So from a commercial perspective, Winehub adds 5 main things, right? It adds general subscriptions, because not everybody wants a wine club. Some people just want 6 rosés or 6 Chardonnays delivered every month because they party a lot or entertain a lot at home. So you've got to have something that gives buyers that facility if that's sort of the type of brand that you are. So that's very important. The second is wine clubs. So we've got 8 different types of wine clubs that you can configure. You've got your standard fixed case clubs. You've got choose your own clubs, and within choose your own, you've got pick exactly the case size, so pick exactly 6 wines. You've got minimum order value clubs, and that's actually our fastest growing club type, right? So this is where we don't care about the number of bottles in the shipment. We just care about the value of the shipment. You want to buy 1 bottle for $500 or 5 bottles for $500? We don't care. It's about value. And that the reason why that's growing quickly is because it represents a very good halfway house between a full-fledged club, right? And a loyalty program. So it's still giving you that regularity of delivery. You're still going to get someone's order every X months, 2, 3, 4 months, whatever your purchase cadence is, but you don't necessarily know the volume. You at least know the minimum value that you're going to get.
Mm-hmm. I also like with these meta fields, Ben, just, these are the standard fields we use for a lot of compliance.
Right.
So we need a lot of this for ship compliant. We need it in wine shipping to receive your items. So being able to get it all here and then share it with the other systems is a really great capability.
Excellent. Yeah. And mixed case is just like a bundling tool, right? So if you want to have like a builder box thing, that's just a feature within Winehub. So you just make builder boxes using the mixed case features. So very briefly, clusters. Clusters is a way of grouping products together based on particular properties. So a lot of wineries don't want to necessarily have harmonized membership benefits across, 750 ml Magnum cases. They might choose to have different discount structures.
Mm-hmm.
So with clusters, you could say, wine club members get 10% off premium 750 ml red wines when they buy them throughout the year outside of their club schedule. But they get 20% off Magnum and large format. You would make 2 clusters that meet those different properties, and then you can apply different membership benefits to those clusters of products. So there's nothing to do it, as I think Ronnie Coleman said, ain't nothing to do it but to do it. So let's go ahead and build a wine club. So when you first look at it, did I get that quite correct? I feel like he said that a lot. And yeah, buddy, and something about a peanut, I remember. Funny guy. Probably a niche reference for the audience in wine, I would imagine. So when you first look at the wine clubs page, you'll have your obviously total revenue, total number of subscriptions, new signups, cancellations, and these are some other things that we do. These are some upsell opportunities that you get within Winehub, right? So let's just go ahead and build a club. So we'll call this Ben's Demo Club. We'll give it an icon. So this is what the back-end creation interface will look like, and we'll get to what the customers will see shortly. I'm just going to go ahead and build the most common example that we see, and it also happens to be the swiftest to build. And for anybody that wants to have a more detailed look at how we handle seasonal clubs, or they can get in touch with us after and we can take you through it. So we'll build a choose your own club based on exact case size. We could also build it on minimum order quantity, and you can see here you can enforce minimum increments above and beyond that. So a minimum of 6, and you've got to buy 3 extras rather than just 1 extra, so you can enforce those increments. There we go. Make sure I've got the right products I can put in it. Yeah, good. I wanted to make sure I've got enough stock of the one I'm going to do. So Ben's Club, and we're going to make this a variable case club with a case of 6 option. This is my wine club. If I could spell, that would be very helpful. So what we'll do here, there's quite a few options, but I think it's just useful for your audience to see the flexibility of this system. And then obviously we can go into detail further on. So now we've got our club title. We have some options. If you want to make this an exclusive club, you could put a membership limit in there. And what that does is it just caps the number of members that you can have, and it waitlists anybody automatically that wants to join afterwards. There's some auto queuing in there, but I've never seen anyone really use the auto queuing feature. So we're going to publish this wine club to our storefront. We're going to allow shipment add-ons. That means customers can log into their customer portal and easily add additional bottles to their upcoming shipment. Enable first order purchases. This is where, if you want to expose the catalog at the sign up process, so people can sign up to the club but also take bottles away with them. So almost like a split delivery. The best example of that would probably be Kinross. So this is a very large business in New Zealand. So we can kind of join their club now. There we go. We'll take the 3 bottle option. We'll add that to cart. So this is, Winehub just drops this element into your website. So it's very easy to just drop these elements into your site. They've added a little animation to that. Now, if you've got catalog turned on, you can see add more products to your first order. And what this does is it creates an upsell opportunity both at the point of sale in your tasting room. So say, would you like to take some more wines with your first order? This is a really good way of just softly upselling. And we also have staff attribution on the back end. So you can see which staff member was responsible for which upsells. So that's a really, really handy feature. We're going to turn on free shipping. Max shipments, this just turns any club into a gifting opportunity. So we say everybody should turn max shipments on in November and turn it off after Christmas. It just allows customers at the checkout to define how many shipments they want to sign their friend up for. So we can get some delivery frequencies going. You can bill your clubs on specific days of the year just by inputting those here, or you can have like a customer purchase anniversary, which seems to be the fastest growing club type that we see. So we'll just have an interval here that's one every 3 months. And then we'll have a second frequency that's going to be purchasable every 6 months. So, you know, our objective as Winehub is to make sure that, you know, we're not the barrier to you deploying the structure that you want. You want to bill everybody in the same day or batch, you know, batch bill people, you know, over a series of days. You can absolutely do that. So now all I have to do is add some products to my wine club. Just note with Winehub, you can mix and match cases and individual bottles. So if you had a case of 12 as an option, you know, you could add, someone could add a case of 6 and then pick 6 individual bottles as, you know, as an example. As long as they have their 12, we don't mind, right? Cool. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and save this structure, and that routes that to the database. We can go back in now and edit our pricing rules. So if I wanted to control the price per product per delivery frequency, so very granular level control, because not every winery wants to have the same harmonized discount for every single wine in their club pack, right? We can turn on a feature called custom pricing, and you can see here, now I've got the ability to control each product's price per delivery frequency, and I can control the number of additional bottles that businesses can, you know, customers can log in and add on. So I can say, let's go just for a fixed price model here. If you get this Shiraz every 3 months, it's $30. And if you get it every 6 months, it's $35. So now you've introduced granular control into this. Now, if that's too complicated, it's no problem, we get it. A lot of structures are not like that. A lot of new ones are. You can just simply have a delivery frequency or even pack size discount. You could say, well, if you're on the 3-month delivery cadence, we're going to give you 20% off of your club pack, okay? And if you're on the 6-month delivery cycle, we're going to give you 10% off your first 2 orders, and then we're going to funnel you through to 15% off. So now you're introducing the pricing funnel into that particular frequency. Okay. So last couple of things we're going to do. Now we have some options. If you wanted to match that case size with a value, you would put the minimum order value in there. So there's a couple of wineries that do have minimum order value attached. And now the last things we want to do is we want to build our suggested initial shipment. So we actually allow you to have minimums. So a lot of wineries will say, well, especially where I live now in South Australia, we make lots. A lot of the world of Shiraz, I would imagine, comes from where I now live. So we say, well, everybody gets a minimum of 2 of our Silk and Twilight Shiraz. So now you've introduced partial curation into that choose your own wine club. And then customers pick 4 of the 6 slots. Now, these are add-ons. If you have promotional products or really interesting, you know, club exclusive wines that you want to offer just for people to add to the next shipment, you would add those into the add-on only products. So this allows customers to go into the portal and see what products are only available to them for their upcoming shipment as a club special. So loyalty perks, as well as getting their club pack discount, we can now say people that are on the 3-month delivery cycle get 20% off all orders year round when they spend $300 or more. And if you're on the 6-month frequency, maybe it's 10% off when you spend $300 or more. And you can also maybe do all frequencies, get a custom perk, you know, like a tasting room experience. Now, the last thing that we want to do is drive average order value from today. You sign someone to the club, we want to say, hey, there's some interesting things that you can take. Are you interested in taking us up on our, you know, April special? Please word it more eloquently than I just did. If you can, I'm a product guy, not a marketer. I always say that to people. So we can say, if you sign up during the month of April, you can buy a case of our Winemaker 6. Instead of it being $230, it's $150, but you can only have one. And I promise you, You tell people they can have only one of something, almost everybody takes that. This has been the single biggest revenue driver, right, for new club signups across Winehub for businesses that have implemented it. So I strongly recommend that if you're moving to us, that you definitely implement that. It's an easy win. So I've got my club saved. Now, for ease of demonstration, I have just got all of my wine clubs listed on a single page. So there's Ben's club. We're all ready to go. We can join the club. If I had multiple case sizes, I'll be able to pick those. You can edit and calibrate everything about this. You can change the wording, the appearance, the icons, the buttons, you can even change the curvature on the box if you want. There's a full sandbox for that. We'll pick our case size. I can see my extra benefits. You've got all this extra real estate that your designers can do stuff with. You can see here, this is pre-highlighted because there's a minimum of 2 of those. Now, you can change the name of this button to be like, I'm too lazy. Just have a bit of fun with it, right? So I'm definitely too lazy to choose. So I'll probably just, I didn't build that's right, I did build a suggested selection, did I? So I'll have to choose my selection. Add to cart. Now we've got that special offer. Again, everything you're seeing here is completely curatable. You can customize this look, feel, button colors, everything. So that's it. So that is how to build a wine club, deploy it to your storefront and sign up to it. And I think, we've still got a couple of minutes left to look at some of the loyalty program stuff.
Yeah, it's a real bounty there. And Ben, a point I've really appreciated about it is how, with all of that configurability at the heart of the subscriptions, you can really cover all of the traditional wine club cases and so much more than that.
Yeah, that's it. Look, we often find when businesses are moving to Winehub that so the reason why we have published as a button is because a lot of wineries that are moving to us are migrating their existing structure as an unpublished club. So it's business as usual for the existing membership. So nothing changes for them. So they just get a brand new customer portal experience that could look a little bit like this. So this is how we style up our customer portal to look. So you've got your home screen, you've got your order history, you've got all your. By the way, I should say that all of the member benefits within Winehub you can turn on automated discounts. So there's no codes, no coupons. It's fully automated. As long as someone logs in and we know they're a club member at the checkout, or even before that in the cart, we can apply the membership discount. Nice and easy. Yeah. So this is how it could look on the back end. So you can see here, order add-ons. I can go ahead and add a couple of extra bottles to my upcoming delivery. I can see the details of my next wine club order. I can edit the subscription from the subscription from directly within the panel. There's a few other bits and pieces here. We allow customers to maybe edit their club. You don't have to have this. You can say we don't want people signing up for a case of 6 quarterly and then downgrading to a case of 3 biannually. My view is that it's anti-churn. The more flexibility, there's a lot of information to suggest that the more flexibility you give your customers, the less they take advantage of it. So I think, having that option is not a bad thing. Right, so the next thing I wanted to try and do is just very quickly take you through what we're running with as a bit of a flavor for the next 12 months, which is, we're massive on loyalty here at Winehub. So we've I'm going to say straight out of the bat, I do not believe in a point system for wineries. I think it's great for wine retailers potentially because the purchase cadence is more frequent. But I think wineries, their D2C purchase cadence is too infrequent to really lend itself towards some sort of arbitrary currency like points. So our loyalty system is built on real world values like spend over time, the number of bottles you buy within a time period, lifetime spend, club status, tenure, okay, or even exact product purchase. So we're going to take you through that. How much time we got left, Caleb?
Well, let's say 5 to 10 minutes.
All right.
We want to see this. I think this is one of the things you guys do the very best. So let's make sure we see it.
Okay. So we're pushing this idea of spend your way to silver at Winehub, and it's working very, very effectively. And the idea is that basically you have a bronze, silver, gold, platinum style loyalty program. Please call them whatever you want, but effectively that's the idea that we're trying to aim for. And what this does is it says, buy this case of wine and you become a bronze member. If you want to be a silver member, you've got to spend $300 every 6 months with us, right? But if you want gold and platinum benefits, you've got to join one of the wine clubs. And that does 3 things really. First of all, it preserves the integrity of the wine club so that all these wine club members don't suddenly go, oh, actually, it's just too easy. I'm just going to cancel my wine club and become a loyalty member. It's easy. But it also gives people that are just uncomfortable with subscription-based buying, because that's effectively what a club is, right? It's a subscription with some extra benefits. It gives people that are uncomfortable with that a place to kind of play around in and get used to your brand. And it's much easier to graduate someone from bronze or silver to a club member than it is from 0 to a club member. And the third unintended benefit is that all these baby boomers that are canceling their clubs, most software systems servicing wineries today don't have anywhere to put that customer once they cancel their club. They lose their benefits, they lose their tags, so it's really challenging to kind of manage that. Having a loyalty program is like a soft exit. It's like the funnel out. So we've got the funnel in, and now we've got a nice soft funnel out. So I built a really crude loyalty program here. It's just bronze, silver, gold, platinum. But if I wanted to make a new membership tier, actually I'll go back to that. You can see a monthly snapshot. So this is like what your each different tier is doing. Let's just call this Caleb's Mates. Now, you don't have to give a global discount, but just to show you how it works in the funnel, we'll just give a 30% discount for any mate of Caleb. Now, when you're building your loyalty program, you've got two options. You can build a default tier or a standalone. Standalones is invitation only. Let's build default. It's going to be a 6-month membership duration. You have to spend $1,500 every 6 months, limited to wines. So we're limiting the product category to just wine. You can also say, or you've got to buy 36 individual bottles of wine. So you're giving a value and a volume-based entry point into the loyalty program. And there's some other really cool things you can do with this. So for example, I know a couple of wineries have implemented membership tier credit, and this works really effectively. So this is a $1,500 maintenance spend. And we're going to say, well, once you've spent $1,000 of your maintenance spend, we're going to give you bonus credit of $250 towards your upgrade. So now you're at $1,250. The other way to do it is to have a voucher, which is a call to action. Come and buy. Available for 7 days for a fixed amount of $250, and it activates when you put $750 worth of product in the cart. So anyone that qualifies for this, when they're buying product online, that voucher will be automatically applied to their checkout. So that's how you would implement a loyalty program. And the last thing I'm going to show you, it would be our allocation system if I've got time. And if I don't have time, please do book in for a full demo. Have we got time?
Let's finish it.
Let's finish it.
I'd like to see it.
Okay. So allocation's big, obviously big purchase pathway for, especially for US wineries. So managing an allocation in Winehub, very easy. Select the product, give it a name. I'll give it a whatever I can put in. How much stock do you want to offer? 120 bottles, 3 per customer. You can say they've got 5 days to claim their allocation. Reminder on day number 2, reminder on day number 3. And now you can say, do we allow partial claim? Yep, but the minimum claim is 1 bottle. You would give it a description, put in a description, there we go. And then now what you can do is you build your requirements. So when I talked about customer segmentation before, this is where I think Winehub excels above any other platform on the market at the moment, is our segmentation capability. So we can say this is going to go out to all gold members that are within $40 of upgrading to their next membership tier, that also have some preference-based conditions. We can say this is a Shiraz offer, where at least 25% of their orders contain Shiraz. So what Winehub will do is it will analyze all of your sales, and then it will present you the list of the most likely to convert customers. All of this is backed up by an enormous settings guide. So if you want to change anything about the look and feel of the sign-up app or the customer portal, you can do that in here. From a help guide perspective, there are video tutorials on how to do absolutely everything within the product. And for those of you that prefer to read over visualize, we've got a large knowledge base here as well. I think that's probably a good place to park up. What do you think, Caleb?
Okay, great. No, thanks, Ben. It's a lot, obviously. So we'd love to show you more. If you're interested, you can absolutely reach out. We do have an integration with Winehub out of the box and Shopify. Wine shipping shipped millions of Shopify orders in the last several years. All of the subscription and club capabilities are going to work automatically with wine shipping, in addition to an inventory sync and all of your tracking and premium tracking information.
Exactly. And to your credit, you're the only dedicated fulfillment company on the Shopify App Store. So if you go and type wine in the Shopify App Store, you'll see Winehub and you'll see wine shipping, and which is really interesting.
But we know what we do.
Yeah,
It's always
that's
a good
it.
start.
Yeah. I'll take a moment. Should we take a moment, Caleb, to just remind your audience that if you head to winehub.io and then go to the events section, we've got an event coming up on June the 2nd. Spaces are quite limited, right? So, and I know it's already filling up fast. So please do go across and register your interest for that. So there's some amazing speakers and some even more interesting stuff to come out of that. And obviously, the good folks at Wine Shipping will be there as well.
Wonderful. Yeah, and we will follow up after the winery to remind people about the event as well. I do have a couple questions. We may get some from the audience too, but we can just take a few minutes here. I mean, obviously, you've had a lot of success in the overseas market. What would you want people to learn from that experience? Obviously, it's different than the United States. What do you think we could learn from that?
Look, I'm going to kick back on that. I don't think it's that different in the United States. I think e-commerce is fairly ubiquitous across most anglicized regions. The complexity in the United States is really down to the compliance piece of where you can sell wine as opposed to how you sell it. So the mechanics don't change. I mean, there's wine clubs in Australia, there's wine clubs in New Zealand and South Africa, there's loyalty programs in all of those countries as well. So the mechanics is roughly the same, but it's how you handle the compliance piece that is obviously the variable in the United States.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, and I know that's really what you've had to work on to enter the market.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of people doing all sorts of funny things with compliance, but yes, we do have native integrations with the majors, and that does certainly solve a lot of problems. I think when you're changing your technology stack, it's important to know that you can keep other things in your business consistent. Right? You don't want to be disrupting your compliance engine for the sake of having to move to a different software platform. So it's really important that we do have those integrations. You're 100% correct.
Yeah. I mean, I think those were the two things holding back Shopify in my experience. It was the ease of creating those classical wine club type subscriptions, which you've shown, and then the ability to integrate with the traditional compliance providers out of the box. And those are both available today.
That's it. We're trying to sort of, bring Shopify and make it appropriate to wine. And thankfully, we've managed to do that in a really, really interesting way. So we hope that you enjoyed, I hope your audience enjoyed what they saw today with my bleary-eyed 6:20 in the morning face. Not my
Wow, thanks for doing it. Emily, any questions, or should we finish up?
Yeah, I have a question here, and just want to remind everyone in the audience, if you do have a question, feel free to enter it in the questions section. But the question that we have currently is, how does the software perform compliance checks and relay this data to integrated applications?
Yeah, okay, so good question. So in the administration section of Winehub, you can, well, first of all, in the settings page, you'll need to confirm which compliance engine you're using. The majors, Ship Compliant and AvaTax, and Vino Shipper as well. Vino Shipper have their own, I think, Shopify app coming out, or I think it might even be released. In the context of Winehub, once you enter your API key, your authentication key for either Avalara or for Ship Compliant, we will send all order data will then be passed through to Ship Compliant, and then Winehub will say, hey, Ship Compliant or Avalara, AvaTax, is this order compliant? If it's not compliant, we flag that for the user on the administrative dashboard, and we give you human readable actions to go and modify that order within the back end of Shopify. So it's two-way communication.
Great.
Great. Thanks, Ben. I'm not seeing any additional questions at the moment.
Okay.
All right.
Well, either nobody is left at the webinar because I bored them all to tears, or I did a really good job and answered everybody's questions that they had in their head. One of those two things.
Well, we often get a lot later. Thank you for coming, Ben, and getting up so early, and look forward to working together soon.
That's good. Thank you very much.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.